The eighth day, the second book of Enoch. God shows Enoch the age of this world, its existence of 7,000 years, and the 8,000 is the end, neither years, nor months, nor weeks, nor days. And I appointed the eighth day also, that the eighth day should be the first created after my work, that it should revolve in the revolution of the 7,000, so that the 8,000 might be in the beginning of a time not reckoned and unending, with neither years, nor months, nor weeks, nor days, nor hours, like the first day of the week, so also that the eighth day of the week might return continually. The letter of Barnabas, chapter 15, concerning the Sabbath. Furthermore, it is written concerning the Sabbath in the 10 words which he spoke on Mount Sinai, face to face with Moses, Sanctify also the Sabbath of the Lord, with pure hands and a pure heart. And in another place he says, If my sons keep the Sabbath, then I will bestow my mercy upon them. He speaks of the Sabbath at the beginning of the creation, and God made in 6 days the works of his hands, and on the 7th day he made an end, and rested in it, and sanctified it. Notice, children, what is the meaning of he made an end in 6 days? He means this, that the Lord will make an end of everything in 6,000 years, for a day with him means 1,000 years, and he himself is my witness when he says, Lo, the day of the Lord shall be as 1,000 years. So then, children, in 6 days, that is, in 6,000 years, everything will be completed. And he rested on the 7th day. This means when his Son comes at the start of that day of the week, he will destroy the time of the wicked one, and will judge the godless, and will change the sun and the moon and the stars, and then he will truly rest on the 7th day. Amen. Furthermore he says, Thou shalt sanctify it with clean hands and a pure heart. If then anyone has at present the power to keep holy the day which God made holy, by being pure in heart, we are altogether deceived. See that we shall indeed keep it holy at that time when we enjoy true rest, when we shall be able to do so because we have been made righteous ourselves and have received the promise, when there is no more sin, because all things have been made new by the Lord. Then we shall be able to keep it holy, because we ourselves have first been made holy. Furthermore he says to them, Your new moons and the Sabbaths I cannot endure. Do you see what he means? The present Sabbaths are not acceptable to me, but that which I have made, in which I will give rest to all things, and make the beginning of an 8th day. That is the beginning of another world, another age. Therefore we also celebrate with gladness the 8th day, in which Jesus also rose from the dead, and was made manifest, and ascended into heaven. Observing the Sabbath was only a requirement for ancient Israel. It was unique to natural Israel as a sign. Exodus chapter 31 verses 16 and 17, Psalm 147 verses 19 and 20. Observing the Sabbath is not a requirement for Christians. Romans chapter 14 and verses 5 and 10, Galatians chapter 4 verse 9 to 11, Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 15. The law was abolished on the basis of Christ's death, along with the Sabbath. Again, the Sabbath is not binding on Christians. Colossians chapter 2 verses 16 and 17. Christians were reproved for observing the Sabbath. Romans chapter 10 verses 2 to 4, and Galatians chapter 4 which I've already said, verse 9 to 11. Christians enter God's rest by faith and obedience, Hebrews chapter 4, verses 9 to 11. And the Sabbath will be reinstituted in the age to come, in the restoration of all things. These Sabbaths will no longer be celebrated on the seventh day. They will be changed from the seventh to the eighth, or the first day of the week, which are the same. The dispensation of the fullness of the times, Ephesians chapter 1 and verse 10, popularly styled the millennium, will be the antitype or the substance of the feasts of the tabernacles, which was a shadow of things to come. In this type or pattern, Israel were to rejoice before Yahweh for 7 days, beginning on the 15th day of the 7th month, when they had gathered the fruit of the land. In relation to the first day of the 7th, the law says, "It shall be a sacred assembly. Ye shall do no work therein." This was what they called Sunday. The regulation then continues, "On the 8th day, also Sunday, shall be a sacred assembly unto you, and ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no work therein. Again, on the first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath." Leviticus chapter 23, verses 34 to 43. Thus, in this pattern of things in the heavens, the first and the 8th days are constituted holy days in which no work was to be done. Thus the Lord's Day, the day of his resurrection from his 7th day imprisonment in the tomb, becomes the Sabbath day of the future age, which shall be hallowed by the priests of Israel, and be observed by all nations as a day of sacred assembly, in which they shall rejoice and do no manner of work at all. This change of the Sabbath from the 7th to the 8th, or first day of the week, is the full development and establishment of the observance of the Lord's Day by the disciples of Jesus since the times of the apostles. The Lord's Day is the first day of the week, or day after the 7th, and therefore styled the 8th day. It is termed his day because it is the week day of his resurrection. Upon this day the disciples of Christ assembled to show forth his death and to celebrate his resurrection.